I love what I've seen over the last 2 days, and Stacy and David and Phil, you guys did a phenomenal job pulling this together. I am so proud of you guys. Not sure where Phil is. There he is. Okay. We talked about this, as the company has grown over the last 28 years now. JR and I always have to focus on, technology and what we're doing and things that we don't always want to handle. And then, of course, we like to spend our time in the field. But we kind of got away from doing these trainings and these get-togethers. And we've kind of changed that again, right? We talked about this past year, and we really wanted to go back to doing this because it's so important. You guys don't realize how important you are. I didn't even know you had a screen I could have brought. I didn't forget I was speaking. I knew I was coming, but I never really prepare what I'm going to do anywhere. I'm going to speak, even on stage. People don't understand that about me. I really just like to talk from my heart. I really like to talk from my heart. And last night when we got home, I had realized I forgot to Christmas shop. And so, of course, I went to shop.com. I started buying all these toys. And, before you know it, it's like 3:30 in the morning. And then Jared wrote me a text like, baby, I went to bed an hour and a half ago. Are you coming? And I wrote, yes, I'm done with my last checkout. And I was watching Dirty Dancing. It's been years. And I got excited about seeing Patrick Swayze dance again. And so then I realized as I got in the bed, it was like 4:01. And I was like, you know what? I should probably put some thoughts together for tomorrow. So I set my alarm for 6. And I got up by 6:30, and Jared's like, what time is it? I was like, it's time for you to get up because you went to bed way earlier. You get up. But we got up, and so I think what we've done over the last couple of days is really remarkable. And I think what you've learned, I hope you get, because I saw a lot of real life coaching, and I hope you got it, because you don't necessarily have to say, hey, this is the way you need to say it, because they're teaching you that way. It's just the way they say it that you need to be paying attention to. So it reminds me that we forget to listen to people a lot. We talk a lot, and we talk a lot, and we talk a lot, and we need to pay more attention to listening. Because if we listen more, we can hear what people are saying, and we can get where we want to go. So, what you're doing is so important. Right now is the perfect time to be a leader. It really is. It's your time to shine. Here's why. We see you. Back in the business, in the early days of building the business, there was like those same, and not that we don't love them, we do. We love all you guys. Those advisory council members who sat in the front row. You know what I mean, Elizabeth. We talk about this too. We had the same core group of people. We're always earning the money, always getting the recognition. Right. But now we see you. And we've been seeing you. So now's your time to shine, because not only do we see you, your group sees you. And it's a perfect time to step up to the plate and be a leader. Now think about the role that you're in. Remember what we said yesterday. You're not doing this for others. You're doing this for you. Come on. You shouldn't be doing this if you're not doing it to grow your business. The great thing about it is while you're growing your business, you're helping other people and other organizations grow their business. Yes. Now, when you stop doing it for you, you need to stop doing it for them. Meaning you step back. You don't keep doing it. You see what I'm saying? So you have to, because sometimes we're all so nice that we don't want to say, hey, maybe you shouldn't be doing it anymore. And that's a hard conversation to have, because David and Stacy and Phil are really nice. We're all really nice on the team. So it's hard to say to somebody who's been doing it for 10 years, 15 years, let's look at your business and see what you're doing. Because if you're not doing it for you in this position, stop doing it for them. Because you're not helping them. Right. You're really not helping them. You think you are. You're holding on to something that maybe you used to do, but you're not doing it anymore. And we need people who are still doing it in front of the room.
If you're not still doing it, you're the chicken coop guard.
Yes. Yes. It's funny that he had to bring up the chicken coop, because we were in Bahamas for 2 days at our home in Bahamas, and it's a very little house. And when I say very little, it's really little. Like you could fit the whole house in this room, but we like it. because it's perfect for us because it's the only place that we don't have any staff. So for us, we get to go and do things ourselves and pick up. Well, Jared will never pick up after himself, but I pick up for him, and it's all the little things that we get to do together without other people. But our island, because there's only 30 homes on our island and 30 people live there, it's all a lot of highfalutin people, but we have to bring in our own food. You know, you have to bring in your stuff, so you have to wait for shipments to come in. We have a lot of chickens on the island because we need to eat, right? So people have chickens on the island running around, and then I'm sure the Bohemians go behind the scenes and, you know, do their thing so everybody can eat the chickens. But I looked at, as we were driving, there's no cars allowed on the island, and I saw a lot of golf carts riding around, and it just so happened to be on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday when we went. There was nobody there, which is the great thing about our island, because during the week, nobody's ever there, and you have the whole island to yourself, except the Bohemians that work on the island. So as we were riding around, I saw these chickens, and JR and I just stopped the golf cart for a minute, and I mean, the chickens almost are so dumb that they run into the tire. You know what I mean? You're not moving anymore, but they can't help themselves. They're running around all the way fast and have no clue where they're going. No clue where they're going. They're just running around, hitting the tire after we stopped the car so we didn't hit them. And they just are going nowhere fast. And then you realize, like, when Jared does that analogy, I just looked at him and laughed. I said, no wonder you use the chickens. They are dumb like rocks. Yep. Do you know what I mean? They're just dumb. And you know what? You don't have to, you hear that saying, like, you know, people run around like a chicken with their head cut off. You don't need to cut your head off to be a dumb chicken. You're just dumb. You're just a chicken. Just be a chicken.
But they do run around when you cut their head off.
Yes, they do. That's how dumb they are. Anyway, so if you're going back to where I was, if you're doing it for others and not for yourself, take a step back. And be honest with yourself, because being honest with yourself is the most frank, hardest conversation you will ever have. I talk about this all the time. Being honest with yourself is one thing that we all have a hard time doing, because it's hard to face yourself and say, I'm not doing what I used to do, or I'm not doing it the right way, or I'm not listening to the right people. Who is the expert, by the way? We talked about expert this week, and you have an expert from afar come in. Who's the expert? It's anyone but you. Yeah. Anyone but you. That's the truth. You become the expert for someone else, but not for anyone you know. I think about the times in the beginning days when, we were just starting Market America, and I tried to talk to my family. When I say my family, it was my mom had passed away during our first convention at 42, which many of you know, during our first convention. But her sister and my cousins I went to, I said, you really should take a look at Market America. And I went through all the things. Well, they wanted nothing to do with me. Wow. Doesn't matter that I was at the top. They didn't want to talk to me because I'm not an expert to them. But 5 years later, they cursed me out for not telling them about the business. That is a true story. 5 years later, the only one who got involved was my cousin, who did extremely well, made 6 figures in the first year, and gave up the business because my family was so hurt that they didn't stick with it. His own brothers and sisters. So my point is, you are not the expert. You're the expert from afar. Anybody else is the expert but you. But here's what you can do to help the atmosphere.
An expert, X is has been, and spurt is a drip under pressure. We don't want to be experts.
That's right. But you know what I mean? It's true. But you know the expert from afar. That is what an expert is. A has been. Smart ass. Anyway, my point is that, Jared, you're just a lot right now from me. I love you, but anyway, my point is that in order to create that atmosphere, you have to do your part. And you have to do more than your part because of the position you're in. You have to make sure other people do their part. And that's a hard job to do because nobody wants to have the tough conversations that need to be had. We run away from them, and then we hope they'll go away, and then we hope that things will get better because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and it doesn't work. So let me tell you about hard conversations that I have to do that are no fun but work. Okay? And this is what I want you to do because I want you to not only be the leader that you are in this room, but I need you to act like it. I need you to do it. I need you to become it. And you can't do it for other people unless you have people you're doing it for your own group. You are not here to help everybody else's group. You are here, and each and every one of you are in this room because you should be building your own organization. If not, you should be turning in your resignation.
Yep, that's right.
And we love you. You're an incredible volunteer. We can't afford to pay you what you're really worth to take this role. We can't afford to pay you what you're really worth to take this role. But the payback that you're giving to so many other groups by helping your own group and helping yourself is the real payoff. So here's hard conversations, okay? Let me give you an example. And I want you to understand that people will respect you and understand it. I don't know, a week before I was going to the Mid-Atlantic Regional Convention, right, at Big Al? I called you. I said, Big Al, I don't like the agenda. He said, what part? I said, all of it. Yes or no? He'll tell you. These are conversations. I want you to imagine putting yourself in that position. You may say to yourself, I can't do it, but you have to. You have to. Because if you don't take what you learned here over these 2 days and change things to fly like what you saw up here, you're letting everyone down. You're hurting everybody around you. It's not like you're no longer not doing it for you. You're not doing it for anyone. So you have to call that person and you have to say, Big Al, I don't like it. What part? All of it. And here's why. I appreciate that you live in a region that has a lot of long-time money earners. A lot of those money earners haven't done anything in a lot of years. And I got to tell you, I don't want to spend that much money going to hear those same people. So I'll tell you what. How about we get on the phone and let's get Phil on with us. I called David. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, freaking out.
I was up.
I know you were. You always are up, which is amazing. I called Phil, and I called Don Martin. I said, guys, let's pull our heads together and help Big Al, because it was the first time he took over the region. And I said, we got to help him. If I'm spending this much money for a ticket, I want to see the very best. I want to see the very best. I want to know I got something for my money. I don't want to hear the same old people who haven't done anything for a long time. No offense, we love them. But step to the sideline. We need to hear fresh blood. That's why I need you to do this. I don't want you to do what you're doing in this position unless you're growing, unless you're building. If you're not doing it for you, stop doing it for them. Now, what do? Within 24 hours, we changed the entire agenda. Did we, Phil? Yeah. We chose all new speakers. Called Drayton. He wanted to hang up on me. Drayton, guess what? You're going to speak. No, I don't think I don't want to do that. A lot of high money earners for a long time. I don't want to be the bad guy. I don't want to be that. I don't think they're ready for that. I said they're ready for it. Are you? Step up. I mean, when we were flying, we changed that whole agenda. It was probably one of the best regional conventions. I've been to a lot of them. One of the best regional conventions I have ever been to. Right? It was one of the best regional conventions I've ever been to. And by the way, we took a lot of those same people and put them on stage at convention. Okay? Because it blew our mind. You see, people are always, I don't want to hear that young guy speak. Why? He's doing a hell of a lot more than you. I want to hear him speak. I got a lot to learn from him. I told JR, I said, you know what? We're going to be working with people who are a little bit younger than me and a lot younger than you. And here's the thing. I want to hear what they say. I got Colton. I got Michaela. I got Brett. I got all these great guys. And we get on the phone and we have conversations. And now we're getting ready to do more. We're getting ready to take it up a whole nother notch. Right, Andrew? Because, go ahead, honey.
I never grew up.
No, that's true. He was a, I wonder if you interrupted in the class when you were growing up. I went when...
I didn't say the dog ate my homework. I said I never grew up.
No, I know that, but you interrupt class a lot. And if for somebody, when I walked in his house, I first went to his house years and years ago. I remember, first of all, not wanting to go because his parents were very, strict and stern, and they're more formal. They're amazing. More formal, but I came from a big family, a lot of kids, and you kind of do whatever you want. Your mom's just, throwing her arms around you. The more you eat, the happier she is, that type of mom. And I remember going to his house, and when his mom and dad were giving me a tour, they're like, this is Jimmy's awards. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. It's a lot of awards. What are all these? They were like, that's because K through 12, he never missed a day of school. And I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing that you never missed a day of school, because I got kicked out for missing too many days in school. But, and I was super smart. I just wasn't like book smart. I didn't believe in like sitting down and having to study a book. I believe that people should educate and teach people with real life experience. You know, because I always learn more that way, which is why I have degrees given to me by colleges for speaking at them, even though I never went to them. So, you know, I think the most important thing you can do is have a better relationship with yourself. I think the relationship that you really need to focus on is not the person that's next to you at home, it's with you. So, you know, that's a hard thing to do, right? Because, you know, people who don't want to have a conversation with themselves are generally pretty miserable. Or they're really happy with you and everybody around them all the time, but they break down when they're alone because they really don't feel good about themselves. So here's the thing. The person you're fighting with is yourself. Now is the time for you to shine. There is no better time than to step up to the plate and do the basic things. If you do all these things right, here's the cool thing about this meeting. You do everything you learned for 2 days, and you just bring new people yourself as the coordinator, you'll automatically grow your business. That's the crazy thing. Like, you don't need to know any additional steps. All you have to do is make sure everybody lines up. So, you know, right before August convention, I told JR, I said, you know what, I want to change some things at the UBP. He said, well, what are they? I said, well, first of all, when people go to a UBP, what are they thinking about? They're being dragged out to this meeting. They don't know why they're going. But like JR said, if you pick them up, 100% of them will show up, right? But the first thing we need to do is build third-party credibility. Because people don't necessarily believe what you say or what I say. So we got to build third-party credibility. So Andrew and I and JR and I are in the boat. I said, here's what I want to do. See all these videos? I want to put them together, and I want to make them one video. And I want to build a third-party credibility video that people play before the UBP. Yeah. Because why? We can't talk about what people say about us. It won't mean anything to them. Yeah. And they're not going to go watch it when they get home. So we got to give it to them. So now you have to play that video. If you're not, you've not eliminated the question in their mind, is this thing for real? Are these people for real? We need the third-party credibility video. Those testimonials you heard up there, really, really important. And I tell people, by the way, like Jim said before, you know, don't say the same thing every time because it's too canned. But if a new person who's joined the business, who's a successful business person, and they just got in and you know that they've, you know, looked for centuries trying to find the right thing, but finally they're starting to, they got in, and they're starting to see a little bit of success. I always tell that person, get up there and say, you know what? I finally found something that works. Because you may have a reputation. They may have a reputation being that person that tries everything. But when you change the way you say things, like I finally found something that I can see myself getting paid for the rest of my life for doing the work right now. You know what I mean? And we tell people, don't be afraid to speak. So you're building that credibility by putting those testimonials up there. You're keeping things on time. Time is so important for the UBP. Yeah. You do not want to drag it out. People don't have time. Even though they really have more time than they say, they make up excuses that they don't have time in order to protect their ego from not doing what they need to be doing. So the only way to beat that is to be on time, period. And when you do the meeting and have the meetings like you've been taught this weekend, the atmosphere has shifted. And when the atmosphere shifts, anyone can change. You can't make someone change. You ever been in a relationship with a girlfriend, you couldn't make her change, right? They got upset with you, you're working too much with the business, right? And so you gave up the girlfriend. You're in your relationship with your husband, he doesn't understand why you're in Market America. You can't make people change their minds, guys, but you can change the atmosphere. You change the atmosphere and you put them in the atmosphere their attitude automatically changes. But if you, as the most important person in this organization, the people who have control of how the meeting is controlled, don't make sure that every step of it goes the right way, like you were taught over these 2 days, atmosphere doesn't shift. Nobody grows. I feel bad though, she's in our region, she's been helping us on stage and she sets up all the tables, so we gotta let her speak for 5 minutes and she needed to put everybody to sleep. You know what I mean? You cannot allow that person to take over the room just because you're your friend. You have to be able to tell people no. That's a hard conversation to have. I did not want to call Big Al and hurt him. I said, I love you, you're just doing this. I didn't call him up and say, what are you doing? That's the worst agenda I've ever seen. I didn't do that. I said, I don't like the agenda, but it's not your fault. You just started doing this. Let me help you. I'm going to do it with you. I'm going to show you how we can do this together. Did we not? We made that the best agenda ever. People walked away. I've never seen so many people, right? Am I right? The room stood up so many times over and over again. People didn't know what to do. It blew people away. You have to make sure that you're making moves that improve things, that change things. The atmosphere is controlled by simply you. And so when I talk about the atmosphere at convention, somebody tell me when I've talked for 25 minutes. I might have. What? What?
Speak next, and I gotta go to the bathroom.
Thanks. I'm going to fail his ass for this class. Got it. He gets a big F. I'm going to take 5 extra of his minutes. Anyway. And maybe I take a lunch break while he's still talking. Anyway, I want you guys to understand you are super important to the process. The process is the hard part. I talk about the process all the time. Everybody thinks you can be successful skipping the process. You cannot. The process is the hard part. You are the process. If you skip the steps within the process, you cause everything else to fail. If you don't make the hard decisions to take a deep look at yourself and say, am I the right person? You don't need to put it on Phil or David and Stacy. You need to say, hey, I'm not sure I'm right for this. I'll help you till let me help you find the right person. But I want to focus on my business. I want to turn my business around. And then if you say, you know what, I'm the perfect person, then let's create the perfect atmosphere. Let's make sure that people are smiling. Sometimes at the convention, when I try to be out there a lot in the front. You know, I have to speak a lot too, but anytime I'm not speaking, I'm out front. And if I stand up, I expect everybody to stand up. If something moves me enough to get me up, and sometimes I look at my team and I'll be like, get up! And you know I'll do that. As soon as David and Stacy are so well trained, as soon as I stand up, they're up. And as soon as they get up, I know that my team's going to get up or they're going to get their ass beat later. And I'm being honest, because that's the way it has to be. That is what we do. Listen, that is what we do. That's how we succeed. That's how we create the atmosphere. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about atmosphere. And Jared taught me that a long time ago, even though I'm failing you for this class. He taught me a long time ago, when I stand up, you stand up. Period. When I clap, you clap. Because, and by the way, if you have a bunch of sourpuss faces sitting in the front row and you're UBP, get them out. Get them out. Don't just get them out of the front row. Get them out of the room. Have a private conversation with them. You know what? I can't keep you in here. You're not giving me any energy. I need energy. I need to feed off of you. I need to keep going. If I look at you, I'm wondering what is going on in this person's mind. You are killing my vibe up here. You've got to be able to change it. That's the hard conversation. Who can do that? Who can have those hard conversations? Are you willing to do it? Because if you're not, you're doing not just your group. You're doing other people's groups who are not your group an injustice. And we're putting your hands, your work affects a lot of people. So if you're sponsored 10 people in the business and they haven't done anything, and you say, well, I sponsored 10 people, they haven't done anything. Sponsor more. And let me tell you something, if you didn't learn, and Drayton and I did not get together at a convention to review what we were doing, but right before he went up, I was up. And I talked about you have to go through 52 cards to find 4 aces.
Right.
Okay? That means you have to go through 48 cards to find 4 aces. So if you only sponsor 10, sponsor 10 more. Yep. And then if that don't work, sponsor 10 more. Because you will find the aces, but it takes time. You never open up a full deck and the aces are right there. You have to go through the process. Okay, so now is the time for you guys to do the things that make a difference in your business. Because when you do that, it automatically helps other people's businesses, not just in your group, but in other organizations. The relationship I said you need to work on is yourself, and priorities will dictate how your future looks. What are your priorities? My priorities are very clear. Every day I wake up and I tell Jared, this is what I'm doing today. Please don't let anything interfere with it, and he tells me the same. And then we find time around that. Like on our anniversary, right? Colin, I told JR, I am tied up from 9 o'clock till 2 o'clock. I'm launching a huge new project. I got to get it done. I'm building a whole marketing plan around it. I got to place the order. I got to get with purchasing. I'm going to develop the first order myself. I've never done this. I don't know how to do a purchase order, but I want to do it so it's done right. Then I need to create the marketing plan. And I got to set the pricing. It's a lot of work, and I'm super excited about it. And he said, totally get it. So we were cruising the Bahamas. When we got to the Bahamas, it was like 10 till 2. I got done around 12 o'clock earlier. He said, Loren, I have a call with Colin at 2 o'clock. I said, no problem. Now, it's our anniversary. We knew by 5 o'clock we were going to get together. But here's the thing. When you set your priorities and you hit them, you feel really accomplished anyway. Because I can celebrate my anniversary any day of the week. My point is hit the target. Set the targets. Make the priority, because the priorities will set the tone for your future. When my kids are in town, I tell Jared every time, do not set a meeting between the hours of 10 and 7. Just don't. If you want to set a meeting after 7 o'clock. He's like, that's impossible to do for 2 weeks. I said, it's not impossible. You're the boss. Do it. And that's what I do. Why? Because after 7, I'll work for you all night, but I'm going to put the kids to bed when I see them for 2 weeks. I'm going to do the things I want to do. If I want to go to Fun Dimensions, go to the amusement park, whatever I want to do, and I'll work with you anytime after 7 p.m. because when they're gone, I can work with you all day. But you got to set the parameters of your life and the priorities in your life in order for your future to look the way you want it to look. Ask yourself, are you doing what you should be doing right now? Are you growing like you should be going? Because I got to tell you, one of the most important things you got to do in order to build this business, and there's no way to escape it, is to be really good at prospecting. There's just no way out of it. So who's afraid to prospect? Raise your hand. Thank you. There's some honest people here. Raise your hand. I would be afraid. I was afraid too. By the way, guess what? We can overcome that.
I'll have a weekend and help you overcome it.
Yes.
Because it's fun.
It's fun.
I'm serious. If you aren't having fun, you're not going to prospect. And
yes.
Prospecting is just having fun. Right?
Yeah.
We need to do that because you guys are the catalyst that can change the future of the company. You have to become the change you want to see.
Yes. Come on, babe. I think I'll give you an A now. All right. My point is, you cannot avoid the fact that the number one thing you have to do in order to succeed in this business is be really good at prospecting. And you know what? It's okay to admit, hey, we're not so good at it. Because you know what? If you don't tell us, how can we help you? If you tell us I'm not really good at it, we are personally going to contact you to book you in a time where we can work with you directly.
Notice she didn't say recruiting.
Okay? We are personally going to work with you. So you email me at Loren@shop. Don't pass out the email to everybody outside of the room, because if you're not good at it, we need to get you good at it so you feel comfortable so you can do the atmosphere perfectly right. Because once you have that atmosphere right and you follow their exact steps for 2 days, all you have to do is plug people in the system. Your business will automatically grow. You have to prospect. You have to be really good at it. You have to perfect the atmosphere. You have to teach, and you have to duplicate. Those are the things you really have to do. The other thing you have to do is not get confused with your wants and whys. A lot of times people say, well, they know their why, but their wants conflict with their whys. Unless you absolutely know what it is that you want and why you want it, you will not succeed. That's why I asked you guys to draw the pie chart at the convention. The pie chart will keep you on track. The very simple steps of what the wants are, why you want it, and what you have to do to get there. If you cannot do that, you will not get anywhere. The whole reason we do a dream board every single year, the whole reason, we don't necessarily believe in New Year's Eve resolutions because nobody ever sticks to them. We do resolutions every day. Every single day. I don't need January 1st to tell me that it's a new year. Every day is a new day. Every day is a new day to take a new challenge. I'm still 5 minutes of his time. To take a no, I'm going to tell him right now because he talked 10. So anyway, my point is you don't need a new year to tell you that it's a new day. You need to start making changes now. You need to pay attention to the transformation that needs to happen. Elevation requires separation. If you do not separate from the bad things in your life, you cannot elevate.
Right.
You have to do that. You have to separate from the bad things in order to elevate yourself. Right? That's what you have to do. So people, like I said this before, people think if they go to the gym for the first time in years and they start doing abs for 2 days and they're doing like 100 crunches and they look in the mirror after 2 days like, where are them abs at? I don't see those abs. They think the process doesn't work. But that's not true. You don't work. Everybody knows if you go to the gym and you do the abs over and over again, you will eventually see abs, but you won't see it after 2 days. It's consistency. You have to keep doing it. The gym works. You don't. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with children. When children are children, they get up, they walk. They don't say, hey, Dad, I don't think I can do this. This walking thing's not for me. 12 months old, they go. 16 months old, they go. Nobody's there telling them they can't do it. Because if they are, they're not listening. They go. They don't fall down and say, hey, Mom, I'm sorry, I'm just not cut out for it. That's not what happens. And when we're children, we can do anything we want. Going to the moon, no problem. Becoming a teacher, can't wait. Want to be a superhero? Batman. You know what I mean? They can do anything they want. I want to learn how to swim. I'm in the pool. Here's the thing, as we get older, we don't realize in order to learn how to swim, we got to get wet.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, getting wet scares us. Like, And for some reason, when you're older, you think you need to see things before they happen in order to decide if you need to do them. That is the craziest thing I've ever seen. You need to see it happen before you'll do it? Let me tell you something. If you're making decisions in your life and you put pros and cons on a piece of paper and there's no cons, you're not making anything happen. People who risk things make things happen. You have to have cons. You have to have cons on the list. There is no possible way to have a list of just pros. If there's no cons, there's no risk in it. It won't work anyway. You have to take a risk. So let me just tell you this. The other day, I used to have a big fear of flying, and I still had a fear of flying in these little planes. I don't like to fly in planes. I fly in a G4, a Gulfstream, and I don't fly commercially much because I don't like to fly. But I fly every week. And I do that because I like to talk to the pilot because I like to know when the turbulence is coming. I'd like to tell him, give me advance notice. But I fly every week. It doesn't stop me from getting on a plane because I have no choice. That's what I do.
She does it when they take off and when they land.
Jared, shut up.
First time.
I am always right. My thoughts are very powerful, and he knows that. So he gets really nervous. And when he tries to talk to me during takeoff and landing, I'm trying to have a conversation with the pilots. And he's like, do you have to do it during takeoff and landing? I'm like, I'm just making sure that they check the oxygen mask, that everything's working. Anyway, I've gotten really good about doing it. And by the way, I'm not one of those people like, I know that fear and worry are wasteless emotions. Right. I just know it for a fact. I've lived my whole life that way. If I let fear or worry interfere with where I am, I wouldn't be here today. Okay, so you have to understand, you can't eliminate them. But do not let them control you because they are wasteless emotions. So I get on the plane no matter what all the time, never bring it up. I always make sure that the weather's good. Andrew will tell you. I'll talk to the pilots. What's it looking like out there? How you going to avoid it? But at any rate, for 20 years, I've avoided going on a turboprop. because I believe that they're milk run planes and I don't like them. It's just my prerogative. I feel like you have to stop a lot of places and, I like 2 or 3 engines. Do you know what I'm saying? Not one. And so, the other day we came home from Miami a couple weeks ago from the Northeast, our home in Connecticut, New York. And so when we came home, we do like we do in the wintertime. We go between Greenwich and New York. In our time in Miami, which is November to June, we go between Miami and Bahamas. And our home in the Bahamas is 2 hours by boat, so we go a lot. But the Gulf Stream dictates the weather. So the seas can be really, really bad. So anything over 4 or 5 foot, I just choose not to go. Why go and I don't need to have an upsetting time for nothing. If I'm gonna be out there for 2 days, I'm gonna be miserable for 2 hours. It just, everybody's throwing up. It doesn't work. Okay? And I'm not the one, but everybody else gets sick except for JR and I. So I told JR, weather's not good, I'm not gonna go. Now, here's the interesting thing about what David said yesterday. He talked about building on those thoughts that people have, and they build these giant mountains that are usually nothing to them. They're built on emotions that really don't exist. The situation doesn't really exist, but because nobody has the brave conversation to find out what's really going on, to find out that it's nothing to it, we build these things up into these big mountains that have stopped us our whole life. Now, if you were really honest with yourself, you'd be able to think of one that happened to you or something that you're afraid of that maybe you, like me, instilled in your own child to be afraid of prop planes. So my own daughter, her whole life, because of me, I built on that. I tell her, we don't take prop planes. Why? Well, because we like more than one engine. We like 2 and 3. We have better chance of getting out when we have 2 or 3 engines. So we don't fly 1-engine planes, Amber. Well, her whole life, she wouldn't get on one because she's scared to death, simply because I built on it. Not because she ever took one. So the other day when we were going, we knew that coming home was going to be impossible to go by boat because the Gulf Stream was stirred up for at least 10 days. So JR said, well, we just won't go. I said, well, how about if we take a plane home? He said, you would do that? I said, yeah, let's do it. If we're going to do it, let's do it now. Let me try it without the kids so I can make sure that if somebody's dying, it ain't them. But I said, let's do it without the kids and make sure everything's in order before we go, and we're going to give it a shot. It's a true story. So he said, is that to be here? Because we had to get back here. So he said, you sure you want to do that? I said, I'm absolutely sure. So he said, well, call and see if we can get a charter plane. I said, okay, I will. So I called the guy. Say, hey, I'm looking for the safest plane you got to get me from my home in Cat Cay to Miami Beach. And the safest plane, money is not an object. I just want to talk about safety for right now. So he said, well, there's, the seaplane is really good and you can land right on the water. I said, well, let me explain something to you. I would like to have a seaplane, but I don't want to land on the water unless I have to. Here's the thing. Colin, I want to land on land. I don't want to land on the water, but I would like the option in case we're crash landing.
No, you saw Captain Scully do it because the geese flew into the engines.
I didn't want any chance with this guy. Anyway, now let me tell you what happened the night before. Let me tell you what didn't happen the night before, I should better put it. I, again, tell you, I try to practice what I preach. I do not let worry get the best of me. In somebody else's mind, you may be predicting what's going to happen tomorrow. You build up enough fear that you won't take the flight. You all of a sudden get sick. You're throwing up. You get a fever. You can't fly. It's not a good day to go. Why don't we wait for the boat to be able to take us? I'm really sick. I don't even think I can get on a plane. My head hurts. I got the worst headache. You can come up with all types of reasons, but I didn't do that. I never talked about it. I never brought it up to JR. In fact, I was all packed and ready, and I was up early, and I told him, we got to go. Is it time? I was like, yeah, we got to be on that plane by 8:30 and make it to this meeting. He said, okay. And when I pulled up, there was this plane. It was a double-decker. There was the C engine right at the bottom, and they needed a big ladder because they don't make many of these things. Right, Andrew? You saw it. that had the plane engine, the plane on top with the prop, and then the seaplane at the bottom. And I didn't want to ask too many questions because I just wanted to get home. So I said, how long is this going to take? He said, 25 minutes. I said, okay. And how's the weather? He said, and I said, how's the weather? It's good. I said, well, what's the ride going to be like? He's like, well, it's turbulent. I said, well, what does that mean? And he goes, well, turbulent means bumpy. I said, no, I know what that means, dude, in a G4, but I don't know what that means in this plane. That's what I want you to explain to me. He goes, well, it just means we're going to just be, gliding around. I said, well, gliding around like in what way? Well, because I said, well, let me ask you a question. Is this the safest plane to take me to Miami? He goes, well, now it's funny. Pay attention to what he says. This is how we undo things with our own prospects.
Yeah.
This is how we talk people right out of the business. This is a guy I paid $3,000 to get me here, okay, which seemed like a great deal for me, but that's an expensive plane apparently on a 25-minute trip. And he's telling me, I said, is this the safest plane? He's the owner. He says, well, it depends how you look at it, because some prop planes have 2 engines. This one only has 1. But I mean, of course, you are right. If there's a problem that starts to go down.
Loren, if the engine goes out, it can land on the water.
But the point is, he said, of course, if it goes out, it can land on the water. But he was talking me right out of his plane. Pay attention to what you're saying. Pay attention to what you're doing. Don't be afraid. Don't let fear and worry overcome what you need to do every day. Don't wait till the New Year's to make resolutions. Make them tonight. Implement what you learned over these 2 days. They will change your life, and they will help change others. But do it for you and your group. Do it for you because you're growing. That's it. I got to cut it short. I love you guys.